Hello and welcome to the Virtual Business Owners Network on Friday, the 12th of December 2025. And I'm delighted just to make a very short presentation just about planning for 2026. Um, so many people, and from my experience of so many decades in business, I've discovered that sometimes the most basic of questions are not even asked or considered. And really, what I want to do is give a starting point, the one that I use and I suggest to all my clients. Now, if I was the genius that perhaps this may sound that I am, I'd be on a yacht in the Caribbean instead of talking here from a bedroom window on the north side of Dublin. But hey, listen, this is life and businesses, ups and downs, and the way it is, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing here. So let me just talk about this, and I'm actually going to use myself as an example because it's easier then to make it applicable to you all. You can see the screen, I trust, so we can, okay, grand. I think the first question is to ask, what do I do and for whom? And so many, I don't know how many times I've come across this with organizations and people. And when you ask them what you do, I'm an accountant. And people go, well, so what? And this is the great challenge in today's world, where unfortunately instant gratification is just part and parcel of the life in which we live. And people are not prepared to sit around and listen to you give a 15-minute explanation of how brilliant you are. So from my time in the Professional Speaking Association, I've come across various, structures for this. And really what I did is I've taken this, and this is just a new variation on it, and you'll find you'll continually adapt as you move along. And in this case, of course, who is my business audience? SME business owners. Now, for yourself, who are your business? People that you're trying to contact with. And you can't be all things to all people. Don't be saying, well, large corporates are small business and everybody is my audience. They're not. When you look at who your best customers are, that will probably give you a clue as to who you should be working with and trying to target. They also want to know what the benefit is working with you. They don't want to hear how brilliant you are. And we get it all the time, I'm an accountant, I do this, I do that. Nobody cares in this day and age. They really don't. They're looking for what's in it for me. Instant gratification, yet again. And then, why you? So if we can combine all of that, who my audience is, the benefit I give, and why me, and on the bottom, there's a structure put together. SME business owners fast track their progress, sidestep common pitfalls, and get closer to the business and lifestyle they want by piggybacking my decades of hard-won, real-world experience across multiple sectors. Now, I will change that into something a bit shorter, but what the essence of this is, I want to differentiate myself from those who I compete with. Time and time again, I'm running into mentors who have read it in books, who had a senior position in a company and now think they can talk to the SME community and tell them how to run a business and what it's like to be in the trenches. As somebody who spent too much of my time in the trenches, and I know what it's like to build a business and I know what it's like to lose it. So at least what I'm delivering is real world experience to business, and what I'm hoping to encapture in that when somebody asks me, that they pick that up straight away. Let's just talk about the money. And again, I'm fascinated by this. My accountants here, and please excuse me, I've taken rough figures, so I don't want you talk to me about PRSI and all these contributions and things. In essence, this is the most common answer I get when I speak to SME business owners. How much do you want to earn, say, next year? And the most common figure I get is 100,000. To which my follow-on question is, are we talking about gross or net? And that gets a pause. And the difference is, if it's 100,000 gross, well, you'll get about 70,000 net, there or thereabouts. If you want 100,000 net, you need to be pitching in at 140 grand gross. So that gives you a starting point, and it's to kind of understand just the basics of it. Like, we're not selling widgets. And again, I'm surprised in companies that do sell widgets, that how many of them fail to understand the actual cost of the widget. By the time you buy it in and package it, send it out, do all the bits and pieces with it, your widget costs €1 and you sell it for €1.20. So you're making 20 cents. So you're going to have to sell 500,000 widgets in a year to get your 100,000. And that's just gross. So it's just to understand the numbers. And the calculation around this is I've taken the average employee. You should remember that you're an average employee. I know we all work the extra hours and we put them in for nothing, but your time is valuable. So you should be conscious of what a typical working year is for people. And so the numbers there very quickly are obviously 365 days in a year. Take off the 104 for weekends, take off 10 bank holidays, take off 20 for annual leave, which you're entitled to and should have, and take off 4, which is the average number of sick days an employee actually uses up, giving you 217 days at 7.5 hours a day, gives you 1,627.5 hours of chargeable time in a year. But remember, you run the business. This is not an employee. And if you have employees, it's worth just looking at these numbers. Will you get all the admin work done in one day? Possibly, possibly not, maybe 2. So taking just one day off, we've got 1,252.5 chargeable hours in a year. Now, on the 70 grand net piece, that's 79.84 an hour, or 111.78 per hour on the gross amount that you would need to be charging for every hour of those to come out with the amount that you want. And I mean, it's a shocking figure when you think about it. And so really what I'm trying to just hopefully impart to you around this is your starting point. So if you know where you're starting from, now you've an opportunity in which to be able to plan around those numbers. Realistically, if you only get half that amount of time as chargeable time, you need to double up all round. And certainly if you have people working for you, you should be looking to get a 3x on that. Again, based on me, I have a number of income streams. So the consultancy, and that's the one-to-one consultancy piece I have with a small number of clients. My challenge this year will be add 2 clients to that. And just to watch, because people will fall off. And that's the most lucrative part of my business. The SME Business Show, which some of you may or may not know about, will be probably the second piece of income, although it's not last year, it wasn't, but there will be a push this year. There's a lot of social media going on about that. Business programs. What I did here in terms of business programs was Local Enterprise Connect, and I'll have a new business program, a 4-parter of 2 hours each, that will be a revolving thing about how to run a business from the most basics all the way through. And really what I'll be promoting out of that, and I have the web page being built in the background, is that anybody who wants to run a business needs to know this sort of information. And as I'm giving it to you here, you can see how simple it is. It's all practical stuff based on running a business. There's nothing fancy here at all. I do give talks and I get MC opportunities. So I talk with the Ad Astra Academy about networking. I've MC'd shows in London and Dublin and even further abroad. And then I may have other income streams. I don't know. The vBON is not in here as an income stream because realistically it's a sort of break even. So, I don't expect to make any money out of it. But what you should be doing is putting some realistic numbers around each of these areas that are relevant to you. So what do you sell? What are the key services that you're selling? And put numbers around them. So now you're setting a target for yourself to see. And you can have a look at last year and do a breakdown of where your income came from or the year before, and you see a trend, and then see where the most lucrative parts of it are. Where am I going to get this work? This is always an interesting one. And it's the biggest challenge that most of us have. We tend to forget the existing clients. So what can you do with the existing clients that you've got that you're not doing at the moment? For one of my clients, believe it or not, they are very, very busy. And they have an interest in AI as it pertains to their business. And they've asked me to research it. So I'm getting paid to go off and research AI. Now, I'm not an expert in AI, but I don't have to be for the job that's involved here. All I have to do is find certain things that are relevant to them introduce it to them and let them analyze it. They don't have the time to go trawling through the net, so they'll pay me to go trawling on their behalf. Um, Another one is one of their sales managers is under a lot of pressure, and they have a big year coming up, and there's a challenge around that. So I'm working with him, and I'm working with him in the sense of looking at the team he has, analysing them down, working, make sure, have we got the right people in the right place? What's the dead wood? Who do we need to get rid of and who do we need to replace? And we need to do that in the next 3 months. So I'll be helping him and pulling him away from other work that is less important to him to focus on this. Networking. Networking, you're doing it here today. But it's to be more, I suppose, focused on what you're networking. So, for example, I'm off to a lunch today with the ACCA. For those of you not familiar, they're chartered accountants. One of my clients is president at the moment, and he asked me to come along to it. Of course, I had to pay for it because they're accountants. They never let you give you anything for nothing. We know that. But there will be about 300 at this lunch today. And he's going to make introductions to maybe 2 or 3 people that I could potentially do business with. So that otherwise I wouldn't be paying for a lunch to go to that today. I have a meeting next week with Dublin Chamber. We talk about past clients and customers lost. I haven't done business with Dublin Chamber for ages, and then last year I got 2 jobs worth over 5,000 from them. So suddenly, and now I'm meeting somebody else, and there may be another 2 or 3 jobs out of that coming up. So that's through my networking. The local enterprise offices, I put together a program called Leo Connect, and that went down very, very well with them. And it's a variation on what we're doing here, and it's a variation on a mastermind. So it's kind of bringing together many different skill sets. And that was actually quite lucrative. So there's other local enterprise offices, and I've also done it during COVID for the Society of Chartered Surveyors and the Royal Institute of Architects. So I'm going to be pitching to them as well. These are all contacts I've had in my book, people I know and can get into. And I suppose the final piece of this is, what are you doing to upskill yourself? Like in terms of me, I'm upskilling myself in terms of AI because I need to do these things. And I'm constantly learning. I look at videos on people in business, particularly around speaking, professional speaking, which is a piece I'd like to do a bit more of. But I'd ask you and any of the people you know, what skills are you going to bring on board that will help you run your business more efficiently? Now, you're given a choice. You could try and upskill yourself to do a lot of tasks that A, you hate, B, you're crap at, and C, will take up an inordinate amount of time. Or B, do what you're good at, earn the money and pay somebody to help you out. You can barter, you can do all sorts of different things. So be a bit more creative. And don't be afraid, don't ever see education as an expense. It really is a pathway for you finding new business opportunities. Ultimately, what are you looking for out of life? Hopefully what it is a financially stable place in which you're working, doing something that you enjoy doing. I think that's what we're all looking for. There are empire builders, but I doubt if they're within this group in the sense, and that's not a disservice to anybody here, but empire builders are stepping over people to get to where they want to go. And the Trumps are a good example of that. So we're lucky not to have Donald Trump on this. So, but what is it you want out of life? And what sort of quality of life do you want? And it's one of the questions I ask people, particularly those with young families. Are you an empire builder? If you are you prepared to sacrifice your family and then disappear for 20 years and come back and then try and renew and rekindle those relationships and accept all of the family piece of life that you've missed? And there are people who will say yes to that, and that's fine, and they'll come back multimillionaires. But don't be under any your false thought that you're going to be able to rekindle everything. You will have missed, you will have sacrificed it, so you have to work out how important money is to you. How can you achieve your goals? There it is. Sell more, increase your price. People are always afraid to increase their price. If you're delivering what somebody really wants, they will pay the money. But you need to get under the hood and find out what they want. A good example was that with Nick and myself back in the days of business, we would have designed, say, an annual report. And a good one would have been for our friends over in Hatch Street, Nick. right? And so we designed the report, and then they had it printed. And so we approached them and said, well, we could handle the print for you. Oh, could you do that? Yeah. So there was an add-on plus money we earned. And then I noticed that they needed to post these out. So could we pack those in envelopes for you and label the envelopes and then put them in the post for you? And all of those add-ons, so they got an end-to-end service, and we got, a 2x or 3x on what we would have made normally, just by finding out the extras that they want. What could you do as an extra service that they'll pay for that makes their lives a lot easier? I've talked about upskilling yourself, so there's no more to be said about that. And finally, um, do you know your numbers? I mean, I must say I've been very impressed, and I've shared it more times. Raymond's um, cash flow. I put in his website there. Go to it and get his 3-month cash flow spreadsheet. I use it for my business and I use it for me personally, and I've shared it with more businesses because a number of business owners who have no idea, looking 3 months into the future, of what money's coming in, what money's going out, and then there's a crisis happens. If you know your numbers, you will avoid so many crises. And
Bullying going
there,
on here.
and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And any questions?